Hello and welcome to my studio. It's Lois here from Lois and Morgana Davidson Art, and today I'm going to be painting this ink and watercolour sketch for you and showing you a really sort of great way to paint something loosely. And I'll show you how I painted it. First, I'll just draw in or sketch in these sort of simple, very simple, basic inky trees. And the way that I'm going to do it is going to be something that might be a bit sort of counterintuitive to a lot of people. But it's something that if you can try playing around with it, experimenting, I think you'll be surprised at how effective it can be to create really interesting, very atmospheric, loose landscape paintings. So I'm going to start off sketching out my trees in pencil. If you want to refer to my sketch, then pause the video here and take a screenshot. I'm using Saunders Waterford cold press watercolour paper and it's taped to my board. My board's at an angle of about 20 to 30 degrees and the paper is 11 inches by 15 inches or 28 centimetres by 38 centimetres. Now I'm using waterproof fine liners. Mine are Unipin fine liners, just to scribble in some tonal values for some nice dark shadowed foliage. Fairly slender trunks, not worried too much about the shape of them for this demonstration, but I'm hoping to show you that this way of painting loosely can really be quite a game changer for loose watercolour painting. But first of all, I'm going to set the scene. So the inked in outline gives us this nice strong structure to work with for a loose watercolour painting, keeping the lines nice and sketchy, fairly scribbly. Not getting too bogged down with detail, but trying to make sure that the shape is nice and clear for me. Just before I start the demo, in case you're interested, my book is available from all good bookstores, Landscapes in Watercolour, Techniques and Tutorials for the Complete Beginner. There are 10 tutorials, step-by-step ones, and lots of information that you might find useful. There are links in the description below. So I'm going to start off painting this using the wet in wet method. And the idea here is to kind of be aware of where I'm painting, but the whole idea here to create the atmosphere that I want is to paint outside the lines rather than a colouring in exercise. I'm just going to paint across the whole picture, not taking much notice of the details, but just putting in rich paint across the damp paper in sort of rough areas where I want it, and not getting bogged down with delicate brushstroke or colouring in, if you see what I mean. So I'm painting the sky straight through the trees, leaving some white patches. I'm dipping into my tree colours and just splodging it on really dark across the darker areas that I drew in ink earlier, and then just putting some colour across to indicate the land. I can turn the board, I can spritz it with my water spray to get the colours to run in the direction that I want them to run. And of course they'll resist any dry patches of paper and give me those lovely clouds. And you can see that by just painting through the trees across the whole painting and just putting darker paint in where the tree canopies are, painting wet in wet, everything's softly diffusing, and it's giving me a really atmospheric and very loose finish to my painting. So applying the colour in this very loose way across the whole painting, but being mindful of where I place the paint, of course, can give me this really atmospheric and very loose effect. And then you can either leave it like that, or if like me you can't resist using the palette knife to drag some texture through the paper in places and to pull out some highlights and put in a few more branches, that can be a lot of fun to do through these really loose washes. I've laid my board flat so the washes won't move around anymore or move down the page, and I'm going to sprinkle on a little bit of ordinary fine ground table salt into the foreground just to give me a little bit of extra texture. But of course you can miss this step out if you like your experiment as it is. I've finished with this layer and I'm going to leave it to dry completely, then come back and see how it looks. And here's the dry painting. It's a lot brighter than this. The sun's streaming in through my windows, which, while is absolutely wonderful, it is bleaching out the colour a little bit. So I'm just going to do a few finishing touches to the painting. I'm going to add some shadows on the ground from the trees, just sort of trying to give the suggestion of that and suggestion of the lay of the land in the foreground. And of course, if you try something similar, if you don't think you need the shadows, again, leave it out. Leave anything like that out. I'm just showing you the sort of possibilities of things that you can do to build up the painting. And it's good practice to get used to pulling shadows out, sort of from where the behind where the light is shining. Of course, we have the light in the sky is sort of over on the right, so our shadows are going to be stretching out sort of towards the bottom left corner. And then just putting a little bit of extra dark across behind the tree line, using Payne's grey for that. And now I'm going to remove the tape and have a look and see how it looks with its clean white border. And I'll try and get some better photographs of it so we can see the true colours of how it's turned out. And even though it looks a little bit rough and ready, I really hope that it's demonstrated to you how using this simple technique of painting outside of the lines, painting through the structure, somehow gives it this kind of really loose and dynamic look. And it's not as easy as it looks. It might take a few goes to kind of get used to the process, but I think it's worth persevering with this kind of technique or anything inspired by this, because I think you'll find that by sort of liberating yourself from the need to sort of colour everything in or to stay inside the lines, you'll find that you'll get much more atmospheric passages of paint and that your paintings will look looser and much more expressive. If you found this interesting or helpful, then please leave us a like, and if you're not subscribed to our channel, I hope you'd consider doing so. It's free to do and it really helps with our reach. And thank you so much to everybody that supports us on Patreon. We really do appreciate you and we couldn't run the channel without you. If you'd like to support the channel, then please follow the links to Patreon below. I'll see you again soon. Take care and happy painting. Bye.